My name is Robert Gregory. I'm CEO of the Australian Jewish Association, and today I'm joined by Dr. Moshe Farchi, all the way from Israel. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
Now, unfortunately, today's topic isn't the most positive topic, but as many would have seen in the news, Dr. Farchi was supposed to speak at the Frontline Mental Health Conference in the Gold Coast, and very unfortunately, this hasn't gone ahead. So, Dr. Farchi, what were you supposed to talk about?
Well, uh, I was supposed to talk about psychological first aid, our ability to shift a person who right now reacts in acute stress symptoms, and to shift this person in a very short time to a person who can be active and effective and actually go back to whatever he was doing before. And this is with a huge importance to first responders. Being first responder myself, I know how hard it is after you feel that you cannot deal with whatever you see here and so on, how hard it is to shift back into, routine and your regular work. And these protocols that I've been developing for the last 10 years or so are with so much importance to first responders. These protocols has been implemented all over Israel in the Ministry of Health, Education, of course, in the IDF and so on, and also abroad, outside of Israel. So, first of all, I'm disappointed on behalf of all of those first responders who did not receive this information.
It's a big loss for them because you're the founder of the Stress, Trauma, and Resilience Studies program at Tel Chai, and I've spoken to several people in the field since this has happened, and you're the guy to go to. There's a reason they were bringing you out from Israel to speak there. You're the expert in the field, so it's certainly a big loss to the Australian practitioners who were supposed to attend, who would have had this knowledge in managing trauma. So it's very unfortunate. So as I mentioned, you'd been booked a long time ago, I think 6 months already, and all of a sudden you received this cancellation. Can you tell us what happened, how you found out?
Well, it was quite it was the quite regular process that they sent me an SMS asking me to call them urgently. I was in Melbourne, so I called, and there was this person who was the professional manager of the conference, and she started saying that they received some threats, and they could not make sure that everybody is secure. So they're asking me not to attend the conference and not to attend the hotel. And I was trying just to ask for, reasoning, and she was responding by like, I don't want to argue with you. More or less, that was that.
So they told you couldn't even stay in the hotel. That was a security risk.
They canceled my hotel immediately. They wiped out all my presentations from the website of the conference, as well as they immediately canceled my hotel reservation that was booked through the conference. And they didn't even think to consult with me, maybe to, think, are there options? For example, I know that this conference is also online. I could have presented online. I wanted to be there physically, but I didn't give it this option at all. They wanted me out of the conference.
So they didn't even give you the option to present online. So you say there are other options, and I can say that's of course true. I mean, I'm a member of the Jewish community, and of course we have security risks for every event we hold. So we take precautions. We don't just cancel everything. It seems like a crazy overreaction.
Sure. It's unreasonable, totally unreasonable. Yes, I can say that I was quite angry. But I was more disappointed, really, because it's not only this way, it's going like half of the world to be in the other side of the world for 2 days. This is the way that they treat their guests. This is unbelievable.
It's disgraceful. It's a disgrace for Australia. And you mentioned the way they communicated it to you. So we've been contacted by the Mental Health Association, and they say it's not their fault, that it was the conference organizers, AST Management. Is that who you communicated with?
Yeah, I guess so. There is formal management of the conference. I'm not familiar with, but I'm just contacting the professional manager of the conference.
And I think they must be pretty worried, because it looks like they've hired a reputation management firm, or crisis management firm or something. So I think they're obviously pretty worried. One thing, so they've released a public statement trying to explain their actions, and I don't know whether you've seen that or not. But one thing I didn't see in there was the simple word sorry. I didn't see that at all, which is quite interesting. What would you like to hear from these organizers, or what would you like them to do?
That's a very good question, Robert. Really. I think that first of all, they have to recognize that whatever they have been doing is totally wrong. They give up for this extreme group of radical terrorists, and that they actually gave up. And not only my participation, they gave up again, providing the knowledge to so many people, which is so crucial. So actually, they are increasing the risk of their first responders to be in PTSD. This is so bad. I think that this knowledge is a mitzvah. It has to be rooted in each and every place. It has this knowledge, these procedures, these protocols has been tested, are evidence-based, and has been implemented in so many places. By the way, just recently there was an article showing that 5 different states has formally utilized these protocols in their armies and more institutions. One of them, US, for example. So doing so is just saying to the whole Australian first responders, we do not care about you. We do care about those extreme radical groups. This is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
So what I want,
yeah, sorry.
sorry?
Go on, sorry.
What I want them is to recognize these facts by letters, not only to me, to their own community. I don't need their apologizes. I guess I will not be in contact with them again, but they have to apologize to their own people, first of all.
Yeah, I think the people who are going to attend have missed out a lot. And I mean, if I was an attendee, I'd be demanding my money back if I was going to hear you speak, and all of a sudden I find out you were cancelled. But last question I wanted to ask you is, so you're the leader in your field. You've spoken at many places, and we know, the Australian Jewish community knows that we're experiencing a massive surge of anti-Semitism here. Unfortunately, you're not the only Jewish person that's had these type of cancellations here. So have you ever in your career experienced this type of anti-Semitism before?
Actually, never. Really, honestly. I've never experienced that. I think maybe one time I was sending a paper to one journal, and I could see by the text of the rejection that there's in the subtext anti-Semitism, but that was more or less all. And as I said to them, this is my first time in my career that it's happening. First of all, in this kind of scale. No, it's never happened before. I know it's happening. I have colleagues who went to other countries and received anti-Semitism remarks, but they were remarks, but they spoke. This is also in terms of Israeli lectures, I can say from, feedbacks that I received now in Israel, that it is really, really extreme situation, because many of my colleagues, actually all my colleagues, has never ever been like canceled from their speeches.
Well, it's a terrible stain on Australia. And yeah, I did see it was reported in the Jerusalem Post. So it's obviously a bad reflection of Australia in Israel. We actually spoke to the Jerusalem Post. So yeah, very, very sorry to hear what's happened. Apologizing on behalf of all Australians, but thank you for joining me today for this interview.
But I do want to say, if I can, that I found that the Jewish community extremely warm, with extreme hospitality. They are so nice people. And from all this darkness, I must say that I was astonished by the extreme amount of willingness just to help in any way which is needed. That was beautiful.
Well, that's at least a positive note. Sorry about the circumstances, but glad you got to experience that. It is a very warm Jewish community here, and which was in better circumstances. But Dr. Moshe Farchi, thank you so much for joining me, and wishing you all the best with this.
Thank you, sir.